Start. We would like to start on time and finish on time. There are plenty of seats, in the front row, so please come and fill in those seats. Mr. Nabil, please. Do we have Mr. Rafiz Abazov in the room? Oh, okay, great. Thank you. May I invite the Honorable First Vice Minister to join us at the stage, Mr. Aiderbek Saparov, please. Honorable guests, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. And if I may also wish you a Friday Mubarak, Juma Mubarak. I know this has a special place, especially on Friday with the Friday prayers within the Muslim calendar. I would like to invite our first speaker, which is the keynote speech by the first Vice Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Kazakhstan, His Excellency, Mr. Aiderbek Saparov. Over to you, sir.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, I'm happy to welcome you here on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and on my personal behalf. Ensuring food security is a relevant issue all over the world, and Kazakhstan and the Islamic cooperation countries play important role in ensuring it. For doing this, Kazakhstan has taken specific measures to improve local production, improve competitiveness, and enter new markets. Government has done a lot of work on updating state program of agriculture development. It ensures comprehensive systemic approach in agricultural sector. Under this program, we have made an objective to achieve output increase and productivity increase and exports increase 2.5 times in the next 5 years. And thanks to this, Kazakhstan situation at the food market is stable. And in the recent 5 years, we have increased agricultural output 1.4 times, and food processing and average growth and labor productivity in agriculture was 20%. Currently, agriculture in Kazakhstan is one of the most fast developing sectors in the economy that is able to ensure food security and also provide for the needs of countries in Central Asia. We are one of the 10 leading exporters of wheat and flour. And in 2018, we have exported flour 11.7 million tons of grain, which is 33% higher than 2017. And in meat production, meat and lamb, export potential in the next 10 years may be $2.6 billion. And the output of meat and lamb will increase up to 1.5 million tons. Now it's 600,000. We have all the key factors. We have pastures, we have irrigated pastures, labor availability. We have long-term development programs for developing of local livestock and irrigation lands. We are working on attracting large multinational companies. Currently, at different stages, we have implementation of 24 large innovation projects with foreign investors over $1 billion worth. 14 projects with company participation of $700,000. We have started working with green money on construction of modern complexes of about 100,000 cattle per year. Investors was provided with land plot, and we have provided electricity, gas, and water. Australian company, together with Akimat in eastern Kazakhstan Oblast, started building meat processing plant in Ayagos, 1,400 cattle per day. In Kostanay, a modern facility is being built on deep grain processing, on starch and production of 1 million tons of fodder. We plan to build 2 sugar plants in Zhambyl Oblast and in Pavlodar. In Zhambyl, we have started doing the design, documentation already ready, and we start construction. And we're also focusing on technological re-equipment of the industry. And for this, we have special measures of government support. In Kazakhstan, we have good reserves for engaging lands, increasing yields and productivity by using new agricultural technologies, as well as increasing output of agricultural products by increasing processing. And products with low cost and environmentally clean can become the basis for positioning Kazakhstan as a world producer and supplier of food. And it is clear that development of agriculture as a priority for Kazakhstan will remain so, the key issue for Kazakhstan, and without its development, we are not able to achieve economic independence and food security in particular. And the participation in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation gives Kazakhstan opportunities to expand export potential, develop and modernize infrastructure in agriculture, and export at least 1 more million of grain, attract more direct investment into infrastructure projects, and use Islamic financing. Kazakhstan, together with the whole world, is ready to increase its contribution in ensuring food security, and we have all the opportunities to do it. The Today event is the efficient dialogue platform to discuss key factors and issues in food security of Kazakhstan and OIC countries and develop measures for further cooperation. I wish forum participants productive work and achieve the expected results. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We just heard from the First Vice Minister the development that is taking place in Kazakhstan and also the importance that is being given to the agri and the food sector. And I think they have achieved a lot, and obviously they have planned a lot more to achieve in next 5 years. It's quite difficult to moderate a session after the lunch break, and I hate to share any jokes during the moderation, but I think in order to keep all of us awake, let me share a joke with you, which is a live joke that happened to me. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this with you. I was staying in one of the hotels in the Gulf a number of years back, and I called the room service. I said, can I have a cappuccino? And the lady said, maybe from somewhere from the Far East. Yes, sir. And then she offered me to take the Black Forest cake as well, as that is the best cake that they have. I said, no. Can I have some dates, please? She says, sorry, sir, we cannot date when we are on duty. So I had to explain to her that the dates I'm asking is the dates that we eat, and I thought this was quite inappropriate to share with you because it is relating to the food. It is an honor to have been invited by G Global to moderate this session. And I think G Global has done an excellent job in terms of organization and also managing this event. So my congratulations to G Global in general, and specifically to Mr. Sarek and also Dr. Morat. From the outset, I would like to applaud the efforts of first Kazakh President, His Excellency Nursultan Nazarbayev, who first proposed the establishment of the Islamic Organization for Food Security, which is also known as IOFS, at the 38th session of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers in 2011 in Astana, which is now called Nur-Sultan. His Excellency ratified the agreement on the headquarters between Kazakhstan and IOFS on November 20th, 2017. OIC, as you know better than I do, is the second largest intergovernmental organization after United Nations. A very powerful platform to come together to solve various challenges facing Muslim Ummah, including food security with one voice. The agriculture is straining to meet a rapidly growing demand for a limited resource base. Agriculture is increasingly competing with other uses of land, such as massive urbanization, transport, bioenergy, forestry, and mining, to name a few. So unfortunately, crop production is pushed towards marginal soils. For me, the more worrying thing is the fierce competition for good water, which is lifeline of agriculture. And I hope we get some sort of similar situation we have in Finland, where the quality and the purity of water is excellent. Water withdrawals have increased threefold over the last 50 years. And demand is anticipated to rise a further 40% by 2030 or even more. At this time, I must say that as this was not enough threat, the climate change seriously threatens food security further. A harsh climate harms agriculture production, as the rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns slows down yield gains, leading to destabilizing markets and triggering serious food crisis. The question is, did the IOFS agenda and to develop genetic crops and ensure food products and meeting the halal standards and the other standards and create digital geographic maps is on track to achieving its objectives? Has the genetic bank once existed in Syria seen the light on OIC territory? What has the world done to provide respite to more than 1.3 billion people who earn less than $1.50? And in our world, where almost 900 million men, women, and children suffer from hunger, and a world where the global population is growing every day, food security is crying for serious attention, and it is an urgent issue to tackle with. This and many other issues and challenges will be dealt with my expert and amazing speakers that I have here today. Without any further ado, I would like to invite my first speaker, Mr. Rafiz Abazov, to share his thoughts with us as to how we can solve the food shortages and how we can ensure the food security, not only in the Central Asia, but also in the OIC countries. Over to you, Mr.
Thank you very much. My gratitude for good introduction from Mr. Chairperson. I would like to highlight a couple of very important points. We study sustainable development issues. And when we study sustainable development issues, we focus on Central Asia and Kazakhstan. And situation in Kazakhstan on sustainable development and food security is not bad. It's large picture. However, if you look into detail, situation is not good. I have three main points to highlight. Number one, and I would like to actually come back to my expertise. I'm more expert in governance, governance policies and economic development. From developmental point of view, it means from a point of view of developing countries, not rich countries, but mid-income and poor countries like what we have in this part of the world. So number one issues, we have to look at agriculture development and agriculture security from market point of view. And it means, and it market angle. And because we're here at Economic Forum, this is the most important angle. What we could see here in Central Asia, and we can say Central Asia, I say 6 countries. We have to remember, as a part of Silk Road, Afghanistan was always part of Central Asia and is becoming part of Central Asia because a lot of collaboration, trade is growing between Central Asian republics and Afghanistan becoming bigger part of it. And what we could see not one regional market. We have 6 national markets. Not simply 6 national agriculture markets, but 6 competing markets. They compete in field of agriculture. It's number one problem. So number two problem, every government in Central Asia have a policy on food security and on the development of agriculture. But if you look at the essence of those policies, read the details, they're quite similar. It's fine. We live in the world of internet, we live in the world of democracy, best practice. However, the problem is they would like to achieve the same outcome. So produce everything in the country. There is not much space for interstate collaboration or interstate division of labor, interstate of division of agriculture, production of agricultural products. So this is a second issue. So policies are similar, and probably when countries and governments will implement, they will lead to similar outcomes. Growing number of, for example, apples, vegetables, etc. But then they will start competing with each other, which affects, poor people, farmers who actually need to get profit. They are not government officials, not paid. They get their income from selling their product. And when they compete, price will go down, they will be suffering. Number 3, and as an outcome of this particular development, we don't have much cross-culture, cross-border collaboration. Cross-border collaboration, yesterday was a wonderful presentation by Asian Development Bank, and they're talking about economic corridors between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. It's possible to imagine in future when relations in the country will be better, it will be Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, but there's not much collaboration. It means, again, we are talking about producing competing agricultural products. We are talking about fragmented regional market, and we're seeing that in near future it might affect poor farmers. How this particular development related to food security? Issue is if those farmers see no profit from producing what they would like to produce, they might stop producing it because, they don't have profit unless they have subsidies. But many countries in this part of the world have not enough money for subsidies. And then farmers stop and you don't have that particular product. One year you don't have enough potatoes, next year you don't have enough carrots and onion, and it might go on and on. So I believe there is a need to think about people, about social aspect of developing agriculture and social and economic aspect of developing food security. And there is a need to create, when we talk about collaboration, I think we should talk about division of labor. So if climate in one country is better for one product, let's agree that this country will focus on producing that product, and other countries will provide food security, say, okay, if something happens, we will guarantee you food security. And other country where, say, for example, other product is more profitable, climate is better for that particular country product, and they will produce. So in this case, farmers will be happy to sell their products. They will have incomes, and when they have incomes, they have jobs. When they have jobs, they produce food security. This is the way how we see that future should be sustainable, and security should be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think Mr. Abazov have highlighted some of the key issues and the key challenges that we face, such as the agriculture development. Do we have enough education? Do we have enough universities that offer the quality education on agriculture? Because if you look at the rural population, most of the people are not really literate. I do not mean to be disrespectful to them, but I think they do not have, at times, means to go to the college and universities to get the right level of education and also adopt the modern techniques to develop the agriculture sector. The second thing is in terms of the interstate, the cooperation. I totally agree with the speaker, and I think it's not just the interstate. I think if you have, let's look at the individual level, if you have a piece of land which is divided among 3 or 4 different owners, they may not even cooperate on sharing the water that is, going through their land. So I think even at that stage, we need to look at, and also the policies. There has to be, at least at the government level, they have to provide protection to the farmers. They have to establish a minimum base price so that the farmers know for sure that their product is not going to go waste. Whatever amount they have spent on their seeds, on their labor, at least that minimum wage is going to come back to them. And I see, and I would like to quote a very good example, which Sheikh Zayed, may Allah give him eternal peace, he had done that in UAE. When I was heading the Abu Dhabi region for Citibank, a lot of local people used to come to me to ask for the loan to set up their green farms. And for that, what the government had done, they had set a minimum purchase price, irrespective of what was the quality of that produce, the cucumber, the tomatoes, and so on and so forth. So that gave a lot of comfort and security to those farmers. And I think that's what we need in Central Asia and other places. Again, the cross-border collaboration, that's again, very important, and also the socio-economic, factors that exist within the agriculture. Without any further ado, thank you very much for sharing your excellent thoughts on that. I would like to invite Mr. Nabil Ganji. He's the Deputy Regional Representative, Europe and Central Asia region for UN Food and Agriculture Organization. Over to you, Mr. Ganji. We have the luxury of time, so I'm not going to say 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So please take your time. I'm sure we can manage within our time.
I'm going to read slowly, so there you go. Your Excellency, First Vice Minister of Agriculture for Kazakhstan, Mr. Saparov, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. I'm pleased to be here today in the world-renowned Astana Economic Forum on its 18th anniversary that brings together the best minds of the world to outline priorities of global development for the coming years. As a landlocked country, Kazakhstan is strategically located at the heart of Central Asia, connecting the regions of Europe and Asia. Its geopolitical position enables it to engage with neighbors and at the same time maintain relations with offshore actors, thus influencing regional and global power dynamics. Though Kazakhstan is a relatively young country, its multi-vectored foreign policy importance cannot be understated. Kazakhstan continues to promote dialogue between civilizations, bridging its geopolitical milieu, CIS associations, with its OIC, Islamic countries, affiliations, all within an open, multicultural, and multi-ethnic society. The country is rich in oil and natural resources and has enjoyed steady economic growth since 2000, GDP per capita has risen over sixfold since 2002. While the incidence of poverty has fallen sharply and food security has improved substantially over the past 2 decades. However, just like many other countries in the region, it faces the problem of the triple burden of malnutrition, which exists in 3 main forms: undernutrition, overweight, and obesity. As a result, a large proportion of the population is increasingly at risk of non-communicable diseases. As one of the world's largest producers and exporters of grain, Kazakhstan makes a significant contribution to ensuring food security in the region and beyond. The country accounts for 19% of the global wheat flour export market, and export destinations include not only Central Asia, but also South Asia and the Middle East. Therefore, it is not surprising that it is here in Nur Sultan that we have gathered to discuss key issues on the region's agenda, such as ensuring a safe and high-quality life for people, providing people with access to adequate, nutritious, and diverse food, and creating a favorable environment for sustainable rural development. And if I could take a minute here and underline the word rural development, rural societies. We're looking at the emblem, and it talks about people, cities, and economies. But amid our excitement in developing cities for the future, we have to think about our rural society. There is a large divide between urban and rural areas. Rural poverty prevails in all countries in the world. The percentage of poverty in rural areas surpasses 3 or 4 times the poverty in cities. So while we are busy developing our cities and the technology that it will hold, we need to ensure that our rural societies are maintained. The country is also a member of the Eurasian Economic Union, which identifies the goal of food security as a critical area of interest and plays a leading role in ensuring regional food security. To improve food security and nutrition, innovations in agriculture should be the central driving force. Innovation in agriculture cuts across all dimensions of the production cycle and along the entire value chain, from crop, forestry, fishery or livestock production, to the management of inputs, to market access. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, FAO, as a technical organization, assists member countries in unlocking the potential of tailored innovations to drive socio-economic growth, ensure food and nutrition security, reduce poverty, and improve resilience to climate change, thereby helping to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Because innovation is a complex process where governments and other major stakeholders play different roles, FAO focuses on a system-wide approach and an inclusive one. Equally important is the transition to digital, green, climate-optimized, and other modern technologies in agriculture that will increase production, improve the resilience of farmers and individual peasant farms to climatic shocks, such as floods, droughts, and will make a significant contribution to reversing the degradation of soil and the environment as a whole. Let me highlight a fine tradition of FAO's participation in this highly reputed economic forum in the capital of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Through FAO's solid partnership and presence in the country, the overarching issue of food security was included on the agenda of the forum in 2015, where FAO's Director General José Graciano da Silva, presented to the world for the first time the concept of zero hunger through the Astana Economic Forum and the FAO food security strategy in the world and Central Asia. Again, in 2017, the issue of food security and safety was presented through the prism of organic agriculture development in Kazakhstan. Following its recent ratification of a host country agreement with FAO, Kazakhstan joins more than 65 countries that host an FAO office. FAO, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, is working on developing the Kazakhstan FAO partnership that covers a wide range of sectors contributing to the implementation and the delivery of the SDGs, primarily focusing on the eradication of hunger and malnutrition. To that aim, FAO in Kazakhstan accords great attention to the development of sectors with strong potential, such as oilseeds, pulses, water-saving irrigation methods, and seed resistant to climatic changes, organic agriculture, balanced development of the livestock sector, and precision agriculture. Taking into account that the United Nations proclaimed the years 2019 to 2028 as the decade of family farming, FAO in Kazakhstan plans to lead world activities that will contribute to the development of rural areas, a milestone in its development path. And rural society is producing more than 80% of the food presented to us on our tables.
Could you please elaborate?
Finally, let me express FAO's gratitude to the Ministry of Agriculture of Kazakhstan for the close collaboration. FAO looks forward to further strengthening our collaboration with the Ministry and all partners in Kazakhstan who are willing and ready to work together for accelerated modernization of the agriculture sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ganji. Thank you. Appreciate it. I totally agree with Mr. Ganji that the divide that exists between the urban and the rural, that has to be bridged. Otherwise, I think there will be a total dissatisfaction among the rural population. And I think just imagine a situation where when the rural population feels that all those people living in the urban areas, their children are becoming doctors, engineers, IT specialists, the scientists, they would also leave the farming. Who is going to feed us? So if we do not look after them, if we do not have the right policies to protect their interests, then I think it is going to get us to even further disaster. With that, I would like to invite my next speaker, Dr. Alvin Afendi. Dr. Afendi is the Principal Economist, Strategy and Policy Department at ICD. And if I could request you to wrap up in 7 minutes, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I have a presentation, PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure if people can set it. Is it there? Yeah. Distinguished panelists, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here today and share a bit of macro picture on what's going on food security in our member countries, I mean in OIC countries. I'm not sure. The presentation? Yeah, very good. So basically, so I need to get used to this. I don't know. What is it? Can somebody help me to move the slides? Yeah, anyways, basically, I think it's a good time to go back and see what's happening in general in OIC countries as a club. For those of you who are not that much familiar on the OIC club, we have 57 member countries in OIC, and basically they are representing around a quarter of the global population and around slightly higher than 10% of the global output. And with this, it's working now. As an economist by profession and education, I love numbers, so I'll bring some critical numbers that basically shows what's happening in OIC space in terms of food security. As I said, according to Food and Agriculture Organization classification, 26 out of 51 low-income food deficit countries in the world situates in OIC countries. 26 out of 51 globally. And we have, according to the latest report of Food Security Information Network of 2019, we have over 113 million people struggling with this acute or the severe hunger or the food crisis. And among the top 8 countries in the world that basically are having a food crisis, 5 of them are OIC member countries. Those are Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, Nigeria, and I don't recall the 5th one. I think it's Nigeria and Sudan. So basically, those, if you look at the primary drivers of the food security globally, you have 3 major factors. Conflict or politically related factors, second aspect on the climate shocks, and third one is the economic crisis. On 3 dimensions of the food insecurity, we basically see in all these 3 dimensions, OIC countries are having a big hit. And on the fragility side, we have countries like Yemen, Afghanistan, Sudan, affected a lot on this side. And also you have like economic crisis side, we have around 6 million people in Sudan affected directly by the economic crisis and bringing them to the severe food crisis. Saying that at the same time, what we see as from the supply side of the equation, what's happening in the agricultural production side of the OIC countries, we see there are a number of chronic challenges that these countries are facing in terms of having agricultural production back to the space that stage that basically satisfies the internal demand and also becomes the global value chain part. So those are the inadequate use of land and water. What we see, these countries, they have huge land, arable land, but at the same time, the efficient use of this land is not in place. Second aspect is the land tenure and the regulation on water and land use. Those are basically lists that mentioned there. I will basically focus on last 2, on the one on economic or political stability, which is, according to another classification, 29 out of 57 OIC countries are fragile, conflict affected. So those are basically countries that you have always something wrong in terms of either a climate-wise, either political war, there is a war, there is a kind of political uncertainty, a lot of these kind of turbulences or the issues that affect the sustainable agricultural production and industry growth. And also, the last but not the least, my colleagues, the esteemed panelists mentioned already, on the urbanization or the transformation part. What we see, around 55% of the population of OIC countries currently reside in rural areas. It is slightly above the global average, which is global average around 50%. So this is good news, but at the same time, what we see, there is unnecessary migration of people very fast to urban areas, not simply because the cities are offering better kind of living or economic offer, but also because of the very kind of poor or the weak situation in rural areas in terms of infrastructure, etc. So the flip side of this is that we have a huge potential. All majority of OIC member countries, they have a very conducive the environment and also would say endowments to produce more. Like if you take 3 major factors of production for agriculture, which are land, water, and human resources. And you will see that the majority of countries in OIC, they have huge potential. but the efficiency is a big problem. As I said, like globally, around 30% of the agriculture water is in the OIC countries, and around 25% of the agriculture land is situated in OIC countries. That there is a huge potential compared to the GDP size. As I said, it's only 10% of the global economy. So what I'll do, my takeaway here is like to bring the angle of private sector and investment same time. What I believe is private sector has a role to play in this space. We need to have right incentives for private sector to flourish in the agriculture sector, to increase the production and efficiency, to increase the value chain infrastructure, to reduce the waste, and also the information systems. That maybe during the question and answer section, we can talk more about the digital farms or the big data or artificial intelligence, how they can be integrated to agriculture production. So with this, I will just conclude. As a recommendation, I believe this is like multi-stakeholder approach that should be applied. It's not only government that should do address all these issues, but also there are multilaterals like Islamic Development Bank Group that I'm coming from, World Bank, FAO, UN, IFC, etc. We should be also there in terms of enabling, in terms of connecting, in terms of de-risking, in terms of blending financing, all these issues. And also, in addition to the government, civil society, academic community, and private sector itself to be involved in this overall journey of agriculture development, because they know better than everybody else the realities, the local culture, and the pros and cons of any potential idea. So with this, I will conclude and keep my ideas for the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I would like to invite Mr. Karat Nazmi Dinov, who is head of FAO office in the Republic of Kazakhstan. Thank you.
I will shorten my speech, so
Thank you.
5 minutes.
Thank you. Very kind.
Добрый день.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished Deputy Minister Mr. Saparov, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. I'm happy to welcome you here at the world-renowned forum, Astana Economic Forum, where the best minds have came together to work on the burning issues. As we said, Kazakhstan is one of the largest producer and exporter of grain in the world and making considerable contribution in ensuring food security in Eurasian region. The country has land resources that can be used for increasing outputs in agriculture. In 2015, 193 countries, members of UN, have approved of SDGs that includes 17 different targets that urge governments, international organizations, and civil society to act for the next 15 years. But despite of the achieved progress and reduction in hungry people, the target of achieving zero hunger is still faced. And Agenda 2030 requests us to look at food security as an aggregator of sustainable development and economy development in different countries. And sustainable development goals are connected to food and agriculture, go much beyond SDGs related to hunger eradication, and they are closely related to the rest 17 goals. FAO is the specialized UN agency, has a great potential and long-term experience of participator in the processes and unique expertise to support the countries in implementing Agenda 2030. This year, we started working on nationalization of SDGs in agriculture development, and we think that this will improve awareness of government and other interested parties of introducing and monitoring SDGs achievement in Kazakhstan. On hunger eradication, this is SDG 2, gender equality, SDG 5, clean water and sanitary, 6, responsible production and consume, 12, maritime systems saving, which is important for Western Kazakhstan, number 14, and ecosystems savings, number 15. Out of 25 targets of food security on which FAO is evaluating FAO, Kazakhstan is behind only on two indicators behind the 30 best countries. And such indicators are: first, access to drinking water, number of children with increased weight. On all other indicators, Kazakhstan is showing very good results, actually. Currently, FAO is working in Kazakhstan under the agreement with Kazakhstan government, and now it was ratified and it has the law status. Thanks to this agreement and the FAO office in Kazakhstan, the activities of our organization has been strengthened in the recent 2 years. We are now implementing 8 regional projects, $3 million worth, and this year we plan to start 17 national and regional projects with $27.7 million, with confirmed funding for $12 million. This is FAO money and our partners' money, Global Fund, the World Bank, EBRD, the Green Climate Fund, and other sources. The agreement also ensures the partnership program with FAO, according to which Kazakhstan government will fund $2 million for joint projects that will lead to improving food security in the country and in the region. According to this agreement, we have some priorities that were set with the government according to the state program, and we suggest under this partnership program to improve food security in Kazakhstan and all over the region. We provide the following recommendations. First, introduce new technologies for oilseed and pulses. All these crops have very good potential in Kazakhstan, and they will work on diversification of arable lands. Introduction of new water-saving technologies for assessment of water resources on yields in water deficit regions of Kazakhstan. That's a very important issue, and this will affect food security in Kazakhstan and in the region. Development and testing of the models of balanced and harmonical development of livestock. It should be cattle and small ruminants. And so I think this all has great export potential. And this should be used also the best passages in the framework of family farms. UN has declared a decade of support of family farms, and in Kazakhstan we are going to work on that. The implementation agency is FAO, and we have the full program on supporting family farms. These family farms produce 70–80%, and Kazakhstan is not an exception. This is one of the most efficient forms, and we should support that in Kazakhstan.
Точно в земледелии. Мы вчера вот была у нас сессия по цифровизации, мы обсуждали этого. Мы предлагаем применять методологию финансово-экономического.
We want to use fintech. This is methodology that was developed with FAO and EBRD. Development of export markets, of organic products, development of rural territories. We have different approaches, different methodologies, how to engage rural people in the agricultural safety issues. I also want to underline the potential of Kazakhstan, and it lies in the production of products where Kazakhstan has competitive edge advantage. Seeds, livestock products. I also want to emphasize that we need to support export of those products which has been exported by business without the help of the government. We need to look at the signals of the market. The previous speaker mentioned that we need to look at the market. We need to look at the signals of the market, not to develop export from scratch through with the help of taxpayers. We hope for further cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture, with all partners of Kazakhstan who are interested in joint work. Also wanted to thank co-organizers of this session, G Global, Islamic Bank of Development, Islamic Cooperation Organization, for organizing this session. On behalf of FAO, I also want to wish you a very fruitful and productive work.
I think Mr. Karat has highlighted some of the key issues and also some of the achievements that Kazakhstan has achieved. And I think achieving those 23 goals out of those 25, I think it's a marvelous achievement. Again, there are a couple of others that he kindly mentioned about the water and also about the obesity, which I think is a global phenomenon. So I think the people in Kazakhstan should not be too much worried about the children. I think the solution to that will be the exercise. And I think I'm probably one of the culprits, who does not exercise. With that, before I invite the last speakers, I would like to request the audience, if you could kindly keep your questions ready, because immediately after that, I'll open the floor for Q&A. We'll have plenty of time. But please limit your question to one and have a very, very brief question. With that, I would like to invite our last speaker, Mr. Harry Nanda. He's the Director of Media Gurus.
My fellow panelists and distinguished guests, I think human being has three basic needs: food, clothing, and shelter. But recently, in the last decade, the food has been pushed to number 2 as basic needs. On a lighter note, a smartphone with a Wi-Fi has become the first need, because when we wake up in the morning, we grab the phone first before the cup of coffee or tea. So, according to the World Bank report, there are over 1 billion malnourished people all across the globe, and about 15% of them reside in OIC countries. And the good news is that Kazakhstan is not part of that list. Kazakhstan in 2018 has achieved 0% of malnourishment results. From Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Sudan, many of the 57 OIC member countries have been facing some of the worst global food crises. Some of the OIC countries are actually agriculturally well endowed, but they produce less than their potential. Facing all this is continued increase in demand for food due to several factors, including but not limited to population growth and climate change. The Food and Agriculture Organization believes that more food will be needed for an additional 2.3 billion people by year 2050. And this population growth will mostly take place in developing countries or the least developed countries that are already reeling under food scarcity. According to the World Food Programme, 1/3 of the food produced, that is about 1.3 billion tons, is not consumed each year. It goes to waste. And producing this wasted food also uses other natural resources that, when threatened, have ripple effect in the countries that are already hit hardest in terms of hunger, poverty, and climate change. Global warming is increasing temperature by around 0.2 degrees every 10 years. Higher temperatures and unreliable rainfall make farming difficult, especially for those farming marginal lands, which already struggle to survive. Even when advanced countries suffer natural calamities, there is less food available globally, and global food prices increase, leaving the poor most vulnerable. Climate change is affecting the crops worldwide. Droughts, floods, lack of rain, global warming, all this is affecting food production. And we are ourselves responsible for the climate change, because the climate change is a man-made thing. And the biggest polluters of greenhouse gases is United States of America, and unfortunately, its leader Donald Trump doesn't even believe that the climate change or global warming exists. On a negative account, there is also a loss of farmland. The growth of biofuel market is taking up valuable farmland that is mostly not used for food. Corn and sugarcane is now widely used as biofuel than for human consumption. Another man-made factor that is affecting the food security is the war and the conflict. And it's just a coincidence that most war and conflicts today are happening in the OIC countries. These are also man-made, and most of the wars are also, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen are some of the examples. For the food security, I think to ensure, I believe there should be incentives to the farmers for private investment in agriculture through combination of state investment in rural infrastructure and improved access to financing and lending through regulatory mechanisms. State interference should be reduced, especially in pricing mechanisms, allowing for more market-based approach to prevail. The state government does not interfere when it has to fix the price of a computer or a car or a smartphone. But when it comes to the agriculture or the food, the state government steps in there. I understand that the minimum support price is very important for the farmers, but this is a double-edged weapon. All the traders, the middlemen, they know what is a minimum support price. They offer very little on top of that to the farmers. And at the end, the middlemen end up making more money sometimes than people who grow the food. And the other thing that I think is required today is creating the storage facilities, state of the art. A lot of food goes waste, especially in OIC countries that are very hot temperature. They don't have enough storage facility like cold storage, and the food goes waste. And the other thing that is very important is education. Education has absolutely no substitute. There are online forums. If you have a problem with any issue, you can go online and discuss on the forums. But I think there is a time that has come now that the farmers have to be trained how to use the digital applications to find out if they have any problems with any crops and how it has to be handled. More and more agriculture scientists need to reach out far and wide in the rural areas to the farmers to give them the latest and modern education. A farmer learns farming from the parents. And if one parent has made a mistake, it continues generations and generations into it. And at the last, I would like to say that women, there's a gender gap in food politics. Women traditionally bring the food on the table, they store the food, and also in poor countries, there are women farmers. According to a UN report, if women farmers had the same resources as men farmers, there will be 150 million people less hungry in the world. And women are often unrepresented when it comes to food politics. On a completely lighter note, the composition of this panel is one such example. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know we are running short of time. Do we have permission to carry on for another 5 minutes, Mr. Sarek? Yeah. Okay. Before we go with the question and answer, I would like to invite Mr. Sarek, the big boss of G Global, to give his insight and the views about the food security. Thank you.
Let me thank you, Wahid Kaiser, who came all the way from London. He's excellent in moderating this session. Also, we're finishing Astana Economic Forum, so 90% of the room is filled with people who were a little bit tired. I would like to thank the colleagues, Minister of Agriculture, Vice Minister of Agriculture, Organization of Islamic Cooperation for taking part in this topic, because the topic of food safety is one of the key topics that is included in the sustainable development of humanity. I also want to make a small suggestion. Yesterday, you heard our first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, thought about initiating Big Eurasia initiative. So about 70 countries are included in there. So Kazakhstan has high credibility and it is trusted by many countries. Kazakh projects, global projects, they're very big. They're supported by the world community. Also, the issues of food safety, anti-nuclear world, the Assembly of National Religions, Astana Economic Forum, Global Silk Way. These are the projects of Kazakhstan that were supported by the global community. We did 2 anti-crisis conferences supported by the UN. My suggestion is about this audience. We suggest to create an organization that will deal with food safety, public organization. You know, it's the public, usually it's represented by businesses, by scientists, academics, by analytical centers, by the media. I hope that our distinguished guests, such organizations as OIC, World Food and Agriculture Organization, because the main driver is the public sector. So you've been here for the second day at the Astana Economic Forum. I would like to direct your attention to our international organization, the potential of public organization as G Global, and we're not using it very effectively. So as Nazarbayev said yesterday, I suggest that we create a platform. Nursultan Nazarbayev said about G Global Platform, Big Eurasia. So I suggest that we create a public dialogue platform, G Global, Big Eurasia, for food safety, so that we can create some recommendations. So I precisely suggest that. So next year, we have like 200 people here. So at least 1,000 people should be present at these kind of meetings. So I suggest that from now on, we prepare that for the next economic forum. Thank you very much for coming here to Astana Economic Forum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharik Nagorbekov. I think the direct and the indirect message is that we should close now. No questions. Okay. If you allow me, I'll just take one question from the front row here. Do we have a mic here, please? We can have one-to-one later on. Mic, please. Would you like to? Yeah, there's a mic coming. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I am the ambassador of State of Palestine in the Republic of Kazakhstan. My name is Dr. Muntasir Abu Zaid. Actually, my question to Deputy Minister of Agriculture, I would like to say, first of all, that Food Security Organization was established in 2016, and I represented my country on behalf of our Minister of Agriculture. So Kazakhstan was elected as president of Food Security Organization. Palestine was elected vice president in OIC. So at that time, since 2016, Till now, the General Assembly, all the ministers of agriculture would like to know which challenges the organization facing, which progress, which projects. Our information as Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan informed us and offered to us to encourage our companies to take these specific projects concerning agriculture.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency.
I didn't ask.
Yeah, I think your question is the steps that is taking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, I think that 3 years, it needs General Assembly to invite all the ministers of agriculture to explain to them as president of the organization which challenges you have, which progress done, and which specific projects, because Islamic Bank financed a lot of projects. And the companies should participate with the tender, should be member of OIC. When we go, our companies goes to apply, no answer, no cooperation. Just please, we need more control from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs concerning the projects and the tenders. Thank you.
Would you like to respond, or would you like to take it on a one-to-one basis with the ambassador?
Нет, я один на один тоже обсужу, но хотел бы сказать, что
I'd like to say that we will gather ministers. We will do that work, conduct that work, and we will provide all the information needed.
With that, I would like to... okay, I'll take one last question. In case if you have any further questions, please, after the session, feel free to have one-to-one, with the speakers, because obviously we have to vacate the room for the next session as well. Thank you.
Добрый день.
Please be brief with your...
Я представляю Исламский банк развития.
I represent the Islamic Bank of Development Regional Representative Office in Almaty. My question is to Mr. Saparov. Islamic Bank of Development provided technical assistance to the Ministry of Agriculture for the development. There's a Islamic organization on food security, but this technical assistance is being slowly implemented. So we request the Ministry of Agriculture to take measures to select the consultants that should provide assistance under this assistance in developing methodology and program and the structure of this international organization. Thank you.
I'm sure the Minister has taken note of that. With that, I would like to thank all of you for being an excellent audience. And please join me in thanking my esteemed speakers who have shared their invaluable knowledge with us. And let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And with that, I close the session. Thank you.